What's good, Maryville? This is Noah Cooper, joined by my co-host Perry Randall on our weekly Droppin Dimes podcast. How you doing today, Perry?
Man, I feel great, to be honest. We got one show out the way last week, our first show, so it feels good to get that off our back. So now we just got to keep the show on the road.
Hey, we're rolling. I'm feeling pretty good, too. Let's jump right into the action here. There's been a lot of stuff happening in the last week in the NBA for sure. Two big things that happened that really stuck out in my mind was there's been a lot of injuries, specifically to all-star players, and then there was also the blockbuster deal with Blake Griffin. But we're going to put that one to the side, and first we're just going to talk about some injuries that happened. Over the last week, there's been about 4 players that have been injured. First, it all started out with DeMarcus Cousins. He was kind of the first one that got the ball rolling a little bit. And then Andre Roberson was the next one. And then John Wall was the next one. And then last night, Kevin Love went out. But first, let's go over DeMarcus Cousins. So last Friday, he had a left Achilles tendon that tore him in the game, and the Pelicans won that. And at that point, the Pelicans were sitting kind of pretty. They had won 5 of their last 6 games. They were 27-21. And ever since he went out, they've lost 2 in a row. They did win that game, but they have lost both games since then. What do you feel about DeMarcus Cousins going out, Perry?
Well, when I saw it, I knew it right then and there. I knew it was a ruptured Achilles. So I was just like, wow.
We've seen that before with Kobe.
Hey, don't remind me, man. Yeah, when I saw it, just gave me bad flashbacks to when Kobe got hurt. So I already knew what it was when I saw it, and when he went down, he was laying on the ground holding his Achilles. I was just like, man, I hope it's not that. But I think we all knew that it was the ruptured Achilles. So I think my overall take with his injury is just that it's a ruptured Achilles. And from what I saw from Kobe when it happened to him, the biggest difference is that he was older in his career. Let's say he was good 32, 33, 34. Let's say that.
Yeah, and he couldn't recover quite as fast as someone like DeMarcus could.
Right.
We've seen people rupture their Achilles before and come back just fine. Mm-hmm. They might have a little bit off, but see, like DeMarcus Cousins, he's not that athletic. He's not that super athletic type of dude. He's not like the Blake Griffin 5 years ago type of dude that's really going to be dunking all over your face. And now that he's developed more of a three-point game and more of a shot, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue because he can always step back and hit that shot. He's not really a back-to-the-basket or a jam-on-you type of player anymore. But, I mean, what a huge blow to the Pelicans season this year. They don't really have that much on their roster right now to deal with. And I just think it's just a huge issue. I just think it's going to be a huge issue. You begin to wonder if they're even going to make the playoffs. I know the top 8 right now in the West. I mean, it's kind of set where it is. We thought the Clippers might have a chance until they traded Blake Griffin, and now you hear that they kind of want to trade DeAndre Jordan, and they're thinking about trading Lou Williams too. So you don't really think that they're going to be going after that playoff push. But really, at the worst, you'd assume the Pelicans would either fall down to that 8 or 9 spot right now.
Well, so they were at, let me see, they were the 7th, they were the 6th seed.
Yeah, they were the 6th seed. Now they've lost 2 in a row. They're down to the 7th seed. Their record right now, it's 27-23. But when you lose a type of player that averages 25 points and 13 rebounds a game, you're going to have to make that up somewhere. And their bench players, they don't really have anything at the power forward center position. I don't really imagine a guy like Dante Cunningham or like Cheick Diallo. I don't really imagine one of those guys all of a sudden turning into a big-time player who even averages, like 12, 15 points a game. So it's going to be definitely a huge issue inside. They still have Anthony Davis, but I don't know where the extra help is going to come from here.
I think for the Pelicans, now that this injury has happened, yes, I feel like that they will not make the playoffs and they will end up falling out of the playoff picture. But I think with the Pelicans, they were, like you said, on a roll, about 5 games in a row, and now I feel like that's giving them confidence that Boogie might decide to come back in free agency just because he saw that, we were doing pretty good, and who knows, we could add a couple pieces in the offseason. So I think their mind has really shifted towards next year. And, like we already said, he's a hard worker, Boogie Cousins. He's a hard worker, and his game won't really change. Now, let's not get it twisted. He'll jam on your head, but it's not something that he does every game. And, he's more of today's big man, of a shooting big man, kind of the finesse, and he's still power. He might struggle like bouncing back after a rebound and going back up, something like that, but other than that, his game won't really change. And I think that free agents also will see that the Pelicans, they were on a roll, and all they need is a couple more pieces to actually be like a legitimate championship contender rather than just a playoff contender. So I think that now that Boogie Cousins is hurt, he will go ahead and go through that off-season rehab, and he'll come back. If not the same, then better.
Well, yeah, and you saw the Pelicans, they're really trying to free up some cap space for the opportunity to try to sign DeMarcus Cousins. You saw yesterday the deal that fell through between Nikola Mirotic and Omer Asik. Omer Asik, he's kind of like Joakim Noah is right now, on like a cheap contract, or on a high contract, but he's not really a good player at all. And he's guaranteed $14.5 million from the Pelicans, and if they want to be able to re-sign DeMarcus Cousins, they're going to have to let people like Asik go to try to re-sign him. And they tried to deal him for Mirotic. That didn't really work out because Mirotic has a no-trade clause, and he'd only accept the deal if the Pelicans said that they'd let him opt into his second year, which is $12.5 million, and the Pelicans don't really want to do that. So I don't know what's going to go on with that whole deal, but you definitely would think that the Pelicans want to sign DeMarcus Cousins for next season. And another big thing is, I think it's good that he's not a guard like Kobe Bryant, because that would really debilitate his explosiveness, and his first step would kind of be destroyed a little bit, and he might not be as fast enough after this injury. But I mean, that's about all I have to say about DeMarcus Cousins. But I mean, we all realize that this is a huge blow to the Pelicans. But we know that he'll be back in the future, and he'll probably come back stronger than ever. Then the next injury was Andre Roberson. He may not be a player who's known for his shooting abilities. You'll
not at all.
Not at all. No, you'll see those videos of him on Twitter airballing free throws it seems like every other night. You won't be seeing those videos for a while now, because he did rupture his patella tendon in his leg. I think that's in your leg, correct, Perry?
Absolutely. I think it's right by your knee.
Okay. Well, I mean, I saw him go down, and the injury didn't look good at all. You knew right away that he was going to miss a lot of time, and you were first hearing that the injury might be bad enough to end his career, but they're saying that it's not quite going to be that bad now. But looking forward, for someone like Roberson, he was really a staple on the Oklahoma City Thunder defense. I saw a stat that when him and Paul George are on the court at the same time, they have a 94.2 defensive rating. But when he's not on the court and George is by himself, it goes up to 111.2 defensive rating. So that's not good at all. And then I saw another stat that when he's on the court with all the starters, Steven Adams, Westbrook, George, and Carmelo Anthony, they have a 96 defensive rating. But when he's off the court and it's just those four players playing together, they have a 114.5 defensive rating. So you see right there, when he's on the court, they go from the best defensive team in the league to the worst defensive team in the league. And
with Roberson, he's a player that, he knows his role on the team. He knows that he's not going to do too much outside of what he knows he can do. He's a defender. He's going to lock down the other team's star player. He's going to make it hard for them, and if he gets left open, he might make the three. Most likely not. And if
corner three sometimes,
sometimes Chris Paul would say otherwise.
I'd let him shoot from the wing as much as he wants to the top of the key, but maybe not from the corner.
And you know what? I would too, and I think anybody in the NBA will let him shoot.
Well, see, he was on my team in on 2K, all right? Mm-hmm. And the other team, they'd always leave him open, and he always missed that stupid shot. So he wasn't that nice to me. He wasn't that kind to me on 2K this season for my player.
But in real life, he knows what he can do.
He knows his role.
He's a great cutter. Whenever Westbrook is dishing off the ball and Paul George dishing off the ball, he's a great cutter, and he's a great passer for alley-oops, and he's a great catcher for alley-oops.
Well, you got to learn from that too. When Russell Westbrook is getting double teamed so much and he can't shoot, you got to have other parts to your game like cutting, and I think he's done a really good job about implementing that into his game.
Right, and this will be a blow for sure for the Thunder, just on their defensive side of the ball. But I do believe that with players that can play the passing lanes like Paul George and Russell Westbrook, I think they'll be fine. They won't be as good, of course, but they will be fine. So with this injury, it's more of a hit to you guys' pride as a team, as a collective unit, rather than the actual the skills that we're putting out on the court each night. Because I'm pretty sure that the Thunder have other players that, with defense, it's just about buying in. Mm-hmm. And, Roberson does have length and all that, but defense is a team thing. You can't stop LeBron James all by yourself. It's got to be the help defense that's going to help you. So I think that Thunder will be okay in the long run, and hopefully that Roberson will be able to recover and make a speedy recovery for next season.
Yeah, when when I look at players that were kind of backing up Roberson right now, you got Terrence Ferguson, you got Alex Abrinas, and they're really not known for their defense at all. But if they really try to buy in a little more to the system and really get focused, then I think they could, because you can't expect someone like Raymond Felton in his career right now to be able to do something like that and play super hard on defense. I think his role right now is kind of set, that 5 to 7 point game scorer off the bench. I don't really see him as a defensive player. But I think someone like Terrence Ferguson or Alex Abrinas would really have to step up for the Thunder if they want to kind of lock it down on defense a little more. Now, moving on, the next injury that happened, that was John Wall, and it wasn't necessarily an injury that just happened. It was kind of like a lagging injury that's been going on throughout the season, and he's just had knee surgery this morning. He's expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks, and that's going to be a big blow for the Wizards. I know Wall was kind of having a down year in his points and assists per game. He's averaging 19 and 9 right now, which is a little worse than last season. He was kind of around 24 and 11 last year. He was really picking up the pace. You thought he might take his game to the next level, but he's kind of taken a step back, and you were beginning to wonder if that was because of the knee. But I think now with him going out, they don't really have – they're a lot like the Thunder. They don't really have a guy that's specifically going to back Wall up that much. Because could you even name the Wizards' backup point guard?
Well, they just traded Trey Burke, and so it would have to be Connaughton, I believe.
Tim Frazier.
Tim Frazier,
yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. You'd think it seemed like the Wizards. You think you'd know their backup point guard with all the the big three kind of power they got there with Beal and Porter. But someone like Tim Frazier, he's not really going to get you buckets like Wall could. They got Jody Meeks coming off the bench too. I'm surprised he's still in the NBA, to be honest with you.
He didn't know he was in the NBA.
Yeah, he didn't even know that. You never see him out on the court. So I don't really know how this is going to fare for the Wizards. They did pick up a big win yesterday, but 16 of their next 20 games are against teams that are currently in the playoffs. And that's not a good stat Washington wants to hear when you see the Wall's going to be out for 2 months.
Well, with this Washington team is interesting because they're still trying to find their identity after all these years of having the same kind of core that, hasn't been really working together, and they just hope that whenever they get to the playoffs, their star power will be able to get them over the hump. But I feel like with this injury, of course, this is your starting point guard, your leader of the team, but, you still got Bradley Beal who can get you a 50 on any night just because of the way he's able to shoot the ball. He's such a great free throw shooter.
He's really improved his game this year over what we've
exactly.
seen in the
past. And as we can see, he's a first-time All-Star. So, this is just more of Bradley Beal coming into his own. Now, I did see a tweet that, and it made me think, if Bradley Beal, it helps the Wizards, have like a winning record while Wall is out, then, they might be trying to deal John Wall or Bradley Beal at the end of the season because it's not working, and I don't see them getting to the finals. Now, I see them giving teams trouble maybe, but I don't see them getting to the finals, let alone winning the finals. So I do feel like it might be time to blow it up between these two, John Wall and Bradley Beal. But at the end of the day, if Bradley Beal is not able to hold the Wizards up while John Wall is out, then you might see Bradley Beal get traded sometime in the off season.
Well, see, and that's something that I was kind of thinking with the Trailblazers. I was thinking, they're not going to be getting to the finals with Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum. We've seen this experiment for 4 or 5 years now, and they haven't made it out of the second round. Well, they did beat the Rockets that one year.
I do think it's different with the Trailblazers, just because for the simple fact it's been them two. Mm-hmm. And they really haven't had much help outside of them too. And you got the bench coming into their own with that, but other than that, it's just Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum. But with the Wizards, they have Otto Porter, they have Marcin Gortat, they added Paul Pierce a couple years ago. So they've been trying, and they've been getting players to come, and they even had a chance to get KD, but it didn't happen. So my thing with the Wizards is that you guys have been trying, and you guys have gotten the help, and you guys still can't get over the hump. Now, let's be fair. There's this one guy named Ramon James in the East, so that does make it very hard. But they haven't even went against the Cavs not once in John Wall's postseason career, I believe. So let's just say that the Wizards do get to the playoffs once again, right? Mm-hmm. And then they lose again. I think it's time to blow it up if they lose again. They do not have an identity, and they need it.
And you really see Beal coming into his own too, and especially since they have no one on the bench because they're locked into such they're locked into John Wall's big contract. They really can't pick up any free agents. It's really hard to trade players around and pick up players because John Wall's making a lot. Gortat's making a lot for what he's producing for him. He's not really doing anything. And even someone I mentioned before, Tim Frazier, I think they signed him to like 10 or 11 million in the offseason. I don't really think that's working out for him that well. And another thing I just want to touch on with the Blazers here, and you're kind of right. They don't – McCollum and Lillard haven't really had that much help around them, but I think it's because – one of the big reasons is because of their management. They really messed up in giving someone like Aminu a big contract. They really messed up in giving Turner a big contract, Mo Harkless a big contract. They're giving all these players that aren't really deserving of huge contracts. After they beat the Rockets that one year, they started to give out contracts. They were too expensive, and it really hasn't worked out well for them.
And I think Terry Stotts is a great coach.
Yeah,
you know, but I don't think he's the coach for them. So I think along with the management, I think it might be time for a coaching change because I feel like the Blazers might be more of a run and gun type team, and I feel like they've been kind of held to more of a half court type team where you get Dame Dollar and a pick and roll or something with Nurkic, and I feel like I feel like they're a team that likes to shoot a lot of threes if they can, and they have they have two guys that can get you some buckets when you need them. So I just think that, like you said, it might be time for some management changes, and I think it's time for a coach change. But it's scaring big names off that could possibly join, because I was really hopeful that Carmelo Anthony would join the Blazers, but that didn't happen. But I'm happy for Carmelo, though, so let's be quiet on that.
Hey, man, we're all happy for Carmelo that he finally got out of that horrible situation in New York. He finally got away from Phil. Thank God Oklahoma City didn't pick that man up, too.
Right.
So we're all happy for Carmelo down here, and we're happy for Damian Lillard, too. We're kind of going to have a sneak peek tomorrow.
Hey, big win last night.
Hey, Damian Lillard might make an appearance on the Droppin' Dime show tomorrow, so stay tuned for that.
Hopefully.
Right? Damian Lillard might be there.
Hey.
Is it one way or another?
One way.
Now, quickly, before we wrap this up, we're going to talk about the last big injury over this last week, and that's Kevin Love. Kevin Love just got hurt last night, and that's definitely going to be a big blow to the Cavs. The Cavs, if anything could, we were hoping nothing could go worse, and yet again, something went worse. Kevin Love, he had a displaced fracture in his left hand, the 5th metacarpal, and now he's projected to be out 6 to 8 weeks, too. And that's definitely going to be a big blow to the Cavs. They're already having issues, and now this will only create more issues.
Well, this is another All-Star, and I think any time that an All-Star goes down for your team, it's going to hurt you. But I feel like with Kevin Love, it's a little bit different because I feel like this might be a blessing and a curse for the Cavaliers. I feel like this one might open it up for Isaiah Thomas to get, I don't want to say more shots because I feel like he's taking enough shots now, but I feel like but better opportunities that he can see the floor. He doesn't have to feel like I have to get to Kevin Love to keep him happy, because as we've seen lately, there's been a lot of drama going on in the Cavs locker room with the players, and Kevin Love has been in it. And
that's an understatement right there.
Exactly.
Kevin Love has been in a lot of issues.
I'm saying it as nice as I can.
You see the meme on Twitter, the blame Kevin Love
button? Right. So, and I just feel like this might be a blessing and a curse. He's like, what, 18 and 10 guy?
See, here's an interesting stat about Kevin Love. He's averaging 18, 9.5 rebounds, and 40% from three. And I saw something today that him and Larry Bird are the only players to ever have done that in one season. So I thought that was really surprising. I think that right there, it has to be a huge blow for him.
And, since he came from Timberwolves, it's been different for him. And I feel like he's actually done a pretty good job, despite from what everyone else says. I feel like he's done a great job of still trying to be him as much as he can while not doing too much.
Back to the basket rebounding type of dude. And you got to think it's got to be so hard for a guy like Love to constantly hear his name in trade rumors. We've heard his name in trade rumors ever since they won the finals. I think like the day after there was already let's trade Kevin Love. So we've heard that for a while now, and it's got to be hard to play when you always have those trade rumors lingering around your head.
But for this Cavs team, they're not flowing right now. They've lost 10 of the last 11 road games.
They lost to a Pistons team that didn't have half their roster.
They had lost 5 in a row, and they just got off the snub because of the Cavaliers' struggle. So
they lost 8 in a row. The Pistons.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, even worse.
So. This Cavs team, maybe this could help them. Just opening up a little bit for Isaiah Thomas and LeBron James to kind of create their chemistry, along with someone like Dwayne Wade off the bench, just having more opportunities, because there are stretches of the game where he plays with Isaiah Thomas, where he might not get as many shots. So I just feel like this might open it up for Isaiah Thomas to start to flow better coming off this injury. But I also feel like this might open it up for the All-Star game. Just because I'm not a big fan, as I've said before, I'm not a big fan of these players that are not entertainers in the All-Star game. So now I feel like finally we might be able to get some more entertainment in there. So
who are we getting though?
Hey,
Ben Simmons.
My pick is Benjamin Simmons. All right. So
I have a long time standing opinion that I think Ben Simmons is a top 20 player in the league. So I think he rightfully deserves to
it's a
be in the
bold
All-Star
statement,
game.
but
it's a bold statement.
It's arguable. It's arguable.
Thank you. So, and we already did see Drummond make it in, so we're happy for Drummond.
Right.
And with DeMarcus Cousins injury, we didn't touch on that, but we saw Paul George make it in. We're happy for him. We still wish it would have been Lou Williams instead. So you don't like to see injuries happen to anyone, but if an injury does happen to another Western Conference All-Star, Perry and I were really pushing for Lou Williams. So we'll see what happens there.
We'll see.
He'll be taking 35 shots in the regular season. He'll be taking 35 shots in the All-Star game.
He did miss 16 shots in a row last night, so that might hurt his stock.
I think I saw he was like 5 for 30 or something. I said, hold up, did I read that wrong?
Hey, you read it right.
That's crazy, man. All right, so that'll be enough for today on the Dropping Dimes podcast. We're kind of going to wrap it up here. And if you want to hear more about all the insides about the Blake Griffin trade, you're going to have to check out the show tomorrow. It's going to only be an hour long. We're going to have to cut it a little bit short because there's a Northwest game on tomorrow. But if you want all the inside information on the Blake Griffin trade, all the inside rumors on different blockbuster trades that are going on, and more about the injuries to the players, you're going to have to check out the show tomorrow. So for Perry Randall, I'm Noah Cooper, and on the Droppin' Dimes podcast, we out.